Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I'd like to thank you for all your years of support through the years. As a result, this channel has grown and allowed me an equity partnership in carmarshal.com. Please take the time to check them out. They help you buy and sell your next car, even have a negotiating tool to save you from the hassle of haggling with multiple dealers. The link is in the description below. Please click and help support and give if you can too through PayPal or Patreon. Thanks again.
Am I missing anybody?
Any,
You got everybody here? Everybody's still
you know if we're missing anyone?
I think we're good.
Everybody's here? Okay. Alright.
We got
Then
time.
we're good on white balance?
We're good.
Okay.
You guys are all set? Can you hear me?
Okay, take it away.
Okay. So thank you for coming today. There's been much discussion over the past 2 days about the status of Tom Lewis's employment with the city. As of 10 a.m. this morning, Tom is no longer an employee of the city of Punta Gorda. I know there are many questions about this process, and I want to provide an overview of why this decision was made and how it developed over the past several days. As I have repeatedly stated, the decision about Tom's status as police chief would depend on the findings of the internal affairs investigation, which began immediately after he was acquitted of misdemeanor charges in late June. Over the course of the past 2 months, our IA team conducted numerous interviews, and from those interviews and other investigative work, compiled a report on their findings. Overall, the report demonstrates a casual approach to citizen safety during demonstrations. The Punta Gorda Police Department has an exceptional record of safety protocols when conducting officer training. But citizen demonstrations showed an inexplicable departure from those protocols. Whenever the potential for injury is present, police departments have an obligation to aggressively pursue safety. I did not find that this is the case in our department when citizen demonstrations were concerned. What I found was a non-standardized approach that created unnecessary risk for everyone involved. Because of this information, and after careful deliberation, I did not feel I could retain Tom as our chief of police. Our first discussion of that decision occurred on Friday, August 25th, when Tom also received a copy of the report to review. We discussed the possibility of resignation, and Tom suggested a return to the department as a road lieutenant, a possibility I hadn't considered. We agreed to take the weekend to consider the options and reconvene on Monday, August 28th. At the meeting on Monday, I told Tom I could not support his return to the department as a road lieutenant because I strongly believe that with new leadership, having a previous chief in a lower position would only create confusion, conflict, and division. I fully believe Tom had the best intentions in mind and suggested this option because of his commitment to this community. But I do not believe it would be in the department's best interest, nor in the best interest of our community in the long run. Upon removal of this option and other considerations, Tom told me he did not intend to resign. He was informed that if he did not resign, termination was the only other option. He left the meeting saying he would not resign. But, and I want to make this very clear, no action was taken at this meeting. Over the past 48 hours, we have held off taking any action because I was holding out hope Tom would reconsider and we could complete a separation amicably. However, after a final conversation with Tom this morning and having no other option, I sent him a termination notice. Pursuant to our city charter, I had also informed each council member of the pending disciplinary action. I know there has been an outpouring of support for Tom, and I have received more than 100 letters, emails, visits over the past 2 months. I believe this is a clear indication of Tom's commitment and dedication to this community, and I respect the relationships he has built and fostered there. I will also reiterate what I said in February. Tom is a fine man, and I truly wish him the best in his next endeavor. However, I cannot retain a leader based on character alone. We will begin a national search for a new police chief immediately, and Captain Jason Caccini will continue to serve as interim chief until a new candidate has been selected and installed. We have begun the review and redaction of the materials in the internal affairs investigation and will make them available to the public as soon as any material statutorily protected from disclosure has been removed. I also want to thank our IA team, led by Terry Cochran, and consisting of our lawyer Brian Kochi, retired police chief Arnold Gibbs, and Todd Everly, head of the Southwest Florida Public Service Academy, for their effort to provide a thorough and independent review of the situation. I know this is an extremely difficult development, but this has been an extremely difficult process. Starting with the tragic loss of one of our citizens just over a year ago. With this action today, I am optimistic that we can now fully move forward and continue our healing process.
We can go ahead and take some questions if folks have some.
Could you please go over each of the 3 charges that are referenced in the letter you sent in? 2 sustained, 1 not sustained.
Sure. You want to know what the definitions are? Sustained. Let me just tell you what sustained means.
No, I mean
Yeah, we filled it.
yeah.
Okay. So when we say that a charge was sustained, such as safety, which is one of the first ones, the investigation, there was sufficient evidence to determine that the allegation did occur, or there was sufficient evidence to determine that a violation occurred other than the original allegation. That's the definition of sustained. Okay? Not sustained, the employee's actions were lawful, proper, not sustained. That's a different one. The investigation failed to disclose sufficient evidence to support the complaint. There might have been evidence, but not sufficient evidence. That's the distinction between sustained and not sustained. There's 3 other areas that I did not find applicable. One was exonerated, where the employee's actions were lawful, proper, and consistent with department policy. I did not feel any of them met that. Unfounded, I did not feel they met that. I can go over that definition if you want. And policy review required. They did our policy reviews.
But each of the 3 individual charges, what were they?
Well, the first one was safety. The, did you bring that? Okay.
We'll come back to that question.
Yeah. The third one I know was conduct unbecoming a police officer, and the second one was, we'll get.
Go ahead. We'll take the next question. We'll come back to you, Michael, I promise.
Have you had conversations with Chief Tom Lewis since Monday? And what have those conversations been like?
I had one today. And again, as I said here, we one last conversation to see if he had a change of heart, and if he wanted to resign. He chose no, stands by his decision, and so that was the last conversation.
Can Tom appeal the decision, and who would the appeal go to, if he can?
Oh, try that one. Hey, Rusty, what was that again?
Can Tom appeal the decision, the firing? Can he appeal it? And if he can appeal it, where would the appeal go?
Tom is an at-will employee, and though I'm not aware of any appeal procedures, the city manager makes that call.
The first conversation was Friday, correct?
Yes.
He said he might have gotten a document then. Is that true?
Yes. That is absolutely true. I gave him a copy of the, as I had to, of the internal affairs investigation. Sure, he needed to review it.
But that was not a termination. You weren't giving him a termination letter on Friday, correct?
No.
We're going to go back to Michael's question real quick. We've got the 3 charges. If you can zoom in. There you go.
Sure.
Turn it.
So the first one is personnel rules and regulations. That was more safety concerned. Safety concerns was the first one. The second one was also personnel rules and regulations, and that deals with such things as efficiency of operations and things of that nature. And the third one was the conduct unbecoming, and that was the Punta Gorda Police Department standard operating procedures. So there, we can go into more detail on that. If you want, we can get you that information.
Does the termination include any effect on any pension or, and also are you prepared for any type of wrongful termination from his attorney, or is that something that factored into your decision, or was?
Did that factor into my decision?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
So you don't,
I think hopefully I made it clear as to the decision and why I had to make that decision. As far as pension, Tom has paid into the police retirement fund, so it'll be determined on what he's paid into already.
right, so the termination wouldn't negate any.
Again, that's up to the police pension board, but he's paid into it.
Now, I know you mentioned that you gave him every opportunity to resign.
Yes.
Why give him so many meetings? Why give him so many chances to resign? What's the benefit to the city?
Well, I would hope that through a resignation, it would benefit the community as a whole. We could all come together. We didn't have to. We didn't have to go to the termination route and have conflict and things of that nature. It's a human thing to do. I thought it was best for the community if he did resign, and he chose a different route.
I should also add that part of the process is that there's a meeting to provide the findings to the person involved, which was Friday, and then there's a meeting to reconvene and discuss it. It's not necessarily appropriate to take a disciplinary action if the person involved hasn't had a chance to review the findings. So that's the cause of at least 2 of those meetings.
It's part of the internal affairs process. And you know, you're dealing with police officers, so there's a very strict process that you go through.
Have you reached out to the Knowlton family at all?
On this particular, no, I have not.
When was the last time you spoke with them or with them?
I had a conversation with Steve Knowlton, one of the sons. That must have been a few weeks ago. He called me and we talked for about a half hour.
Obviously, the city and the police department have a lot of healing to do now. What qualities are you going to be looking for in the new police chief? And his ability to kind of continue this process that he's been going through?
I like that question. Not that I don't like the rest of your questions either. But,
Give us time.
give it time. The police department paradigm is a, the culture, how we do business, is a very true and tried way of doing business in Punta Gorda. It has worked well. It has worked well with the community, all areas of the community. It served our community well. And it's a very business, customer-centric philosophy. So much so that we do things that a lot of other police departments don't do. And I would hope a new chief, we're going to look at someone who can bring those principles and continue those principles, enhance them, great. I mean, I don't know how many police departments every week make random calls to their customer contacts and ask them, how is the service that we provided? And we get comments on that. And if some of the comments raised questions from our customers, then the supervisors talk to the employees. We reach out to the customer and we try and resolve it. I don't know how many police departments do that, but our action, our community involvement with both the police department staff and the business and residential sector has worked well. Another character that we would like to see in the new chief to carry on what we've established here is we want to bring in someone who can continue to work with all sectors of the community. Now, what does that mean? That means not only the residential sector and the business sector, but all the various neighborhoods, whether they're in the Punta Gorda Isles or Burnt Store Isles or Seminole Lakes, Burnt Store Meadows, the historic west side, the downtown, the historic east side, different demographics, somebody who can continue to establish a close relationship with all of those sectors. And that is really important. We have done that, and we need to make sure that a new chief, again, embodies that spirit. Very important.
Has anyone in the department now expressed interest in the position, and would you be open to that, or are you looking for someone outside of Punta Gorda?
The new chief will be from the outside.
Why is that?
Because the new chief needs to come from the outside.
Why do you say that?
I just said that.
Is there a reason to it?
Yes, I think they're based on what I've observed. Based on what I've observed, I think that is the best course of action to bring somebody in from the outside and to work with very dedicated staff. And we have a lot of younger officers and younger dispatchers, because it's more than just officers in the police department. Dispatch, records. We've got some experienced folks as well. They do an excellent job serving our community. And I just think it's best for the overall community and the department as a whole to bring somebody in from the outside. That's just my opinion.
Back in February, when you announced, I believe it was February, when you announced the suspension, you went on at length about all the volunteer work that Chief Lewis did,
yes,
all the meetings he held and everything
yes,
else. And now you're even talking about a new chief would have to maintain those kinds of contacts or similar contacts with various parts of the city.
yes.
At what point, let me ask the question this way, is it possible that because of all that PR work, frankly, training got set aside, the chief's eyes were taken off the stuff that was really important that ultimately led to the death of Mary Knowlton, because he was having all these volunteer efforts and showing up at parties and meetings and what have you?
Another good question. Good question. I think the chief and the department as a whole has to continue their community involvement. You have to do that. The training that I talked about in here, our department goes through strict officer training, simunitions training. They're experienced in that. That will continue. you know, whether there's too much of the community involvement or not. Well, I guess maybe we have to take back a look at that and see. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the real reason.
They go through the training, but under stress, the night Knowlton was killed, several people ignored the training.
Under stress?
Well, that particular night. Storm was coming in, they wanted to get the demonstration done.
Yeah, that's all well, yes, that's well documented. You will read about that. As I said before, the citizen demonstration incidents, we did 5 of them. You'll read in the Internal Affairs report there are 5. And you'll read about each one. And the department chose not to institute the same safety protocols as they did for their simulations training that they've been trained in. Now, you talk about under stress. You know, I need to bring you back to an example that occurred New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, 2015, 2016, when the solid training of our officers demonstrated a very excellent result. Now, some of you may have been here, some of you may remember this, some of you may not. A young man in the Tribune Woods neighborhood on our east side went to a convenience store across the street on Cooper Street and robbed the store and also shot, used a gun and shot. Thankfully didn't shoot anybody. And then went into the neighborhood, and our officers responded, and he was shooting at our officers. And they did not shoot back. It was getting dark, and they chose to stand back. And then they had assistance from the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. And again, they did not fire back. They had every right to, they did not. And we waited. And they waited overnight. They careened off the neighborhood. And they waited till it got light. When it got light, they waited until the young man came out from wherever he was. And an officer stopped him, asked him to stop, and had the gun out, had her gun out, and the person stopped. We all knew he had a gun. We all knew he had a gun. Asked him to stop. He stopped. When he stopped and started coming back, the officer put the gun back in her holster, took out a taser, tased him, and with the assistance of another officer, apprehended him alive, no shots fired, and he went to jail. Our officers were safe. He was safe. His life was spared. That doesn't always happen. That not always has happened. You've all heard about it. That's the kind of training that our officers go through. That's some excellent judgment that was used. Was there risk involved? Yes. But a young man's life was saved, and no officer got hurt. So yes, we do have some pretty solid training.
But then you've had the dog incident, you've had a 91-year-old man tased, so pay your money and take your choice. Training work.
I did not want you to leave without remembering that incident.
And I should just, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt real quick. I just want to let everyone know that the Internal Affairs report is now posted on the police department's investigation or incident page. And as soon as I get back to our office, we'll send you guys a link as well. But it is there now. I apologize for that.
It is 82 pages.
You mentioned that, yes.
Are any other officers or employees of the police department subject to discipline as a result of the Knowlton event?
Yes. And that has been done.
Can you elaborate?
I certainly can. Well, really, it's only one other officer, because Lee Cole is no longer employed, Katie Heck is no longer employed, and Jeff Woodard is no longer employed. So we're talking about Tom Lewis and Chris Salzman, Lieutenant Chris Salzman. He has also been handed his disciplinary notice. I'll just tell you what it is because you're going to ask. It's a 2-day suspension without pay, and he will not be eligible for any merit increase. But as you read the report, I didn't feel that, and this, remember, I discussed this with the IE team. I didn't feel that what's his involvement throughout the 5 scenarios and how were they developed, his involvement did not merit beyond that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, one more than if nobody else has any. What did you learn from this report that wasn't in the previous Gibbs report or in the FELE report that led you to the action you've taken now?
A lot.
Name the top 3 things.
There was a pattern in the citizens demonstration incident. We did 5 of them, 5 scenarios. There was a pattern, again, as I said before, there was a pattern of not imposing the same safety protocols that we have with our simulations training. There was a trend there. And, when you read about the 5 scenarios and what occurred, there's a lot to be learned from that. So there was that's one of the keys. And that can happen. That's a major key in that report that you will review. There was no intent. We had great intention of setting up the scenarios, but it just was not handled in the manner we do a lot of other things in the police department. There were no debriefings, and they should have been. And there were no protocols in place to make sure that safety concerns were addressed. Sufficient protocols. There were protocols, but not sufficient protocols. So that's why the decision came down the way it did.
Chris Salzman suspension, has he already served it, or if not, when does that start?
No, he just got his letter.
Okay, so
Yeah, again, the internal affairs investigation is not finalized till the person, in this case me, till the person delivers to the employees involved their findings. So that was just done. So he will be taking it. I'll leave it up to the acting chief to determine, or the interim chief to determine that.
And then in terms of the link to the report, the header is online, so there's no link to the actual report.
They're checking it right now. Because if he just checked it, if you refresh it, you might have to clear your cache. But he just emailed me again. He said the link is working.
Okay.
But if it's not, I will be here. If I have to print copies, stick around. I'll print copies if I need to. So
we will get you a hard copy.
We couldn't do it until it had been redacted because there is still a pending criminal case with Lee Cole, and so we had to be considerate of that. But we'll get you copies.
We'll keep checking. Okay.
Are there other questions?
Anything else?
Okay. Well, that's all. If you want to stick around for just a second, I'll collect everyone's contact info, and so I can count up how many copies we need to make. If you just hang tight for a few minutes, we'll start running copies as fast as we can.
Do you want a hard copy? I'd love a hard copy.
All right. If you want a hard copy, stay put. Actually, let's see. How many? Okay. Hands for hard copies. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh gosh. Okay. Keep them up, please. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we'll run 10 copies. I'll be back as quickly as I can. Yes.
Can our station there, so
yeah. Sure.
Am I?
All new on Wink News at 6. The chief has been doing a PR campaign about, I'm open, I'm honest, anything you want to talk about. Well, he doesn't want to talk about these other incidents. He didn't release these other incidents until you had to go digging through like a madman to find them.
Wink News pushes to get memos from the Punta Gorda Police Department about Lee Cole, the cop who shot 73-year-old Mary Knowlton during a shoot, don't shoot citizens demonstration back in August. These are memos that have never been made public before.
And tonight we'll tell you about the memo from an officer who trains other cops witnessing Lee Cole making what she basically calls a wrongful arrest. Wink News investigative reporter Dave Colbreth has the exclusive.
This sort of stuff should be unacceptable in any law enforcement agency.
He was a one-man wrecking crew in Punta Gorda, and nobody tried to stop him.
Is he fabricating things? Is he making things up just to make the arrest?
3 longtime Charlotte County attorneys, all who have also been prosecutors in their career, read this memo about an arrest made by Lee Cole, which the Punta Gorda police never released until Wink News spent a great deal of effort and hundreds of dollars.
Just shows that the Punta Gorda Police Department was hiding this stuff. Every news agency in the country was asking for these type of documents.
The memo really hit home for Steve Leskovich because it was about his client, Jacob Hill.
You always hear about corruption, but then to actually read it and know that it happens to someone you know is actually quite disheartening.
On June 23, 2015, Officer Bonnie Buckaloo sent this memo to the Punta Gorda police administrators.
They knew roughly 8 hours after this arrest.
Buckaloo, along with another officer, came upon Lee Cole, who had pulled Hill over for driving the wrong way on this one-way street. First, Cole had his dog sniff around the vehicle for drugs, but it did not detect any. After that, Cole said that he was changing hats and now going to try for a DUI.
He's fishing for something.
Buckaloo also wrote that Cole did not ask any of the related DUI questions and that she did not observe anything that would indicate an impaired driver.
Falling over, stumbling, no odor of alcohol, no bloodshot, watery eyes. None of that information is written anywhere in any of the reports.
Buckaloo summed it up by writing that Cole performed the requested sobriety exercises without any notable concerns, and that he probably should not have been placed under arrest.
It's shocking to read an officer's report that says another officer was seeking or finding a reason to make an arrest. Why is he even arrested?
Apparently, that's also what people in the state attorney's office wondered, because Wink News obtained these documents from them, where a prosecutor writes, I do not see how there was enough for a DUI arrest, and if that's out, then there's no probable cause to search.
I would bet $1,000 the state attorney had no idea that there was another officer on scene who believes that this was a false arrest.
So, the state attorney's office started playing Let's Make a Deal and said it would drop 5 of the 7 charges, including 2 felonies and the DUI.
DUI getting dropped? Almost never. I mean, it is a very, very rare circumstance.
I can count on one hand how many times a DUI has been dismissed prior to charges being filed. This is one of them.
When the state attorney's office offered to drop most of the charges, Jacob Hill pled to minor possession of weed and got out of jail immediately.
He pled to those because he was in jail for 35 days and he needed to get out. Who's not going to take that?
Wink News talked to Jacob Hill, who lost his driver's license for a whole year, his apartment, and his job.
And now when he's looking for employment, what shows up on his background? A DUI. Who the heck's going to hire somebody with that kind of record?
So, what did the Punta Gorda police do about this memo? It said it was successfully prosecuted with the means of a plea.
And I have to tell you this. Any department that defines this as a successful prosecution, they should all resign.
Without asking, the Punta Gorda police also gave us emails saying things like, Buckaloo seems to have an obvious dislike for Lee Cole, stating to other officers that she refuses to acknowledge him or back him up on traffic stops.
She's one of their current own. She's part of the blue line. You don't cross it. She crossed it.
Would he have taken that plea had you known about this email, this memo?
Absolutely not.
When I talked with Jacob Hill, he said he came down here because he's a roofer and needed to work year-round. Well, after all this, he said no one would hire him, so he had to go back to northern Minnesota, and he said, try making a living there doing roofing in the winter. When we asked the Punta Gorda police for an interview, we were told the chief will not be providing an interview on the memo you referenced. Continuing the public discussion of Officer Cole's work product prior to the conclusion of both FDLE's investigation and our own internal investigation is unfair and possibly improper on our end. That memo, as well as last night's story regarding those other memos, are on our website at winknews.com. Dave Culbreth, Wink News Now.
I think that that was a sign of just arrogance. I mean, you don't need to double and triple check yourself. You don't need to have other people double and triple check you. You don't have to have a procedure in place. You don't have to make sure. Like, all of those things just make me sick to my stomach.
On August 9th, 36 people watched as a Punta Gorda police officer shot and killed a woman during a Citizens Academy demonstration. Officer Lee Cole's still on paid administrative leave after the death of 73-year-old Mary Knowlton. But could it have been prevented?
Tonight, only Wink News has memos that were not in Cole's personnel file. After weeks of requests and hundreds of dollars spent, Punta Gorda police finally gave us those memos with allegations of bad arrests, insubordination, and policy violation. Wink News investigative reporter Dave Culbreth has the details.
Nobody should be running around this town with a gun and a badge with these type of allegations against them.
No self-respecting law enforcement agency that I've ever encountered should be tolerating this kind of behavior.
Those are two longtime Charlotte County attorneys. Both of them were shocked when I showed them these memos obtained by Wink News after the Punta Gorda police fought hard to prevent us from getting them.
Just shows that the Punta Gorda Police Department was hiding this stuff. Every news agency in the country was asking for these type of documents.
These new memos show Lee Cole's problems with the Punta Gorda police. But Cole's problems started in his rookie year with the Miramar police, where he was involved in 2 internal affairs investigations. This one, where he yanked a man out of the back of his cruiser. After just 1 year, Cole was forced to resign. He then applied for jobs at over 24 police agencies near Miami. Wink News obtained Cole's application files from most of them, who turned him down. So he then redirected his efforts to Southwest Florida, where the only agency interested in him was Punta Gorda. It was a year after he left Miramar when Cole was hired by Punta Gorda.
Miramar got it right. The other 25 police departments that refused to hire him got it right. Punta Gorda got it wrong.
Cole's personnel file with the Punta Gorda police shows many positive things he's done. But then there's these newly obtained memos that were not in his personnel file.
When you hire somebody that was asked to resign from a different police force, they should be on thin ice.
The first incident Wink News discovered is depicted in this memo. It was February 4th, 2015, when Cole accidentally discharged his taser at home. He was never disciplined.
To have an officer not check his taser before he does a spark test, that is Barney Fife stuff.
On October 23, 2015, a supervisor, Thomas Keegan, wrote this memo saying Cole was insubordinate to him and questioned his authority.
I think that him being insubordinate to his lieutenant seems to kind of go along with all of the other misconduct that he's alleged to have engaged in, because, you know, each one of those is kind of him being arrogant.
Then exactly 1 week later, Cole saw a man riding his bicycle at night without a light. The man wouldn't stop, so Cole sicked his dog on him. But Wink News has now learned from this email that there was what was called a community initiative in place, where officers were supposed to give warnings and free bicycle lights to people instead of arresting them. The Punta Gorda police ultimately settled with the man for $60,000, and over $120,000 worth of medical bills were written off by a hospital. The Punta Gorda police also hired an expert who determined that Cole did not do anything wrong.
I don't care what they say, you know, him allowing that dog to rip the chest wall out of a man who was driving without lights on a bicycle, that's insanity.
The dog bite issue got attention around the world, and Cole said he was receiving death threats. So he improperly accessed the state computer system to remove his name from public records. He got a slap on the wrist from Chief Tom Lewis, who, ironically, illegally accessed the same system himself 5 years earlier and got suspended.
As an attorney, I mean, the Florida bar would be smacking me around something fierce, because you can't just engage in constant misconduct. He's got 5 or 6 incidents of serious misconduct. He's still a cop.
We asked Punta Gorda police officials for an interview about this story, and we were told, quote, the chief will not be providing an interview on the memos you referenced. Continuing the public discussion of Officer Cole's work product prior to the conclusion of both FDLE's investigation and our own internal investigation is unfair and possibly improper on our end. Now, after all of that, that's not the most egregious things these attorneys say Lee Cole has done. That involved a wrongful arrest. We'll have that tomorrow night in part 2 of this story. Dave Culbreth, Wink News Now.
These drugs and stuff, like the German jails, they would have, we got 7, I'm a Canadian originally, we got 7 times more.
Will you do me a favor?
What's that?
If you want to record me, I have no problem with that.
Right.
But this is not a public building.
Last time we were here, we already discussed it. They said we could.
But there are other people here that may not know that you're recording them.
Okay, last time I was here, I asked if I could record, they said yes.
I have no problem with it.
Right.
I believe the facility is probably in the same mindset as they were last time. But just out of common courtesy, let people know they're being recorded, please.
You're being recorded.
Well, everybody's here.
You have to let them know too. Are you running? He doesn't answer questions, I'm sorry.
Don't answer questions?
No.
You just did.
You did.
If you have any questions for me, you can talk to my attorney, Kevin Shirley.
I gotta meet Kevin, man. He's popular,
house.
man. He is popular.
Your house? No, but he was the lawyer for the guy that sold when I bought my house 18 years ago.
Okay. You want me to sit here next to you, buddy?
Yes.
Thank you.
Anyhow. Should be interesting. How you doing? Good. You're from Punta Gorda?
Oh, did you meet him yet?
So am I.
No, told me he was Canadian. This is John Surcan. This is Ian. This is the guy that's doing all the filming, going for public records requests and stuff.
Oh.
They like him. They like him so much they trespass him.
They do. I'm very popular.
What was the latest video on looking for a trespasser? Jim Mello.
Oh, Jim Mello was trespassed from a real estate office for causing a disturbance in there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And
but the only record you got was 2015. That was the one?
Yeah.
Oh.
But they were giving the other guy like a hard time about getting the record, so I had to go down there and straighten those things out with him.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, and by the way, we tried to get L.A. Daniels and the black people to come today. I'm totally serious. Totally serious. I said, let's meet here and have a conversation.
It's a shame.
It is. So.
The meeting's canceled. Maybe next month. It's going to be same time, same place?
The meeting's canceled?
Yes, sir.
Why?
We're the community.
Feedback from the Trade Woods community.
We can't be part of it.
You're not members of the Trade Woods community, no.
Oh my God, that's a good point.
You got your number. You just told me a few minutes. It's a meeting to discuss in the community, and now it's canceled.
Yeah. Wow. But seriously, I really appreciate you gentlemen.
No, but you told me a few minutes ago it's here to discuss a community discussion meeting, and now it's canceled.
Meeting's canceled, yes, sir.
Because I thought it was a community discussion meeting. That's what you told me a few minutes ago.
Yeah, we're members of the community. We like to be heard. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming. When will Cole face justice? Will Officer Cole ever face justice, Mr. Lewis?
That's a great point. Ask again.
Will Officer Cole ever face justice, Chief Lewis?
What about Officer? What about Tom Lewis? What do you want to do? Go for coffee? Let's not waste the time. I'm shocked too, man.
He just told me
that you're going to have a meeting, right?
And I says, what is it about? And he says, it's just a community to discuss things in the community.
Right, he wasn't specific on which community, though.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He said community.
Exactly.
I says, what is it, about? And I says, well, that's great. That's what we should have.
It ain't worth it. Okay. Once they've got their mind made up.
All right, so what do you want to do? Let's not waste this. You want to do coffee somewhere or what?
Sure.
Harry, where's the closest place for coffee?
We could have just used this community center. We don't have to have anybody here.
I can't.
That's what I can't figure out. This is a public place.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you don't even need any kind of permission to
Right.
film? I don't understand that.
He's supposedly saying I do have the right to film, but I'm supposed to let everybody know.
Don't believe that's true in Florida. God we trust part. I'd like to find out what God they're talking about.
That is true.
What kind of trust is that?
So Ian, let's not waste it. Let's do coffee somewhere. Wait. All right, so John, you want to do coffee somewhere then? Where's the closest? I'm shocked too. Totally shocked. I'm totally shocked, man. So what do you want? You want to follow us, or?
Yeah, I'll follow you.
All right, we're down here. I'm in the white convertible.
Okay, I'll follow you.
So where do you want to go for coffee? Let's not waste it.
Whatever you decide, I'm just easy to get out with, man.
He just shut the meeting down. He said we're not from the community, so he canceled it. So let's not waste it. What you want to do? Let's do coffee somewhere.
I'd give it about 2 or 3 minutes. These two just showed up for the meeting.
I know. Well, now 2 black people just showed up from the community, so are they going to have a meeting? I know. That's why he said maybe wait a minute. Oh, have you ever seen anything like that?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh yeah.
Are you here for the meeting?
What?
Are you here for the meeting? Hey, I think we got a meeting, man. We got another one. Yep. Your door. Okay, he still canceled it? All right, can I give you my card then? Hey, the reason why I showed up and the reason why he's freaking out, I unfortunately experienced the corruption here myself. So 3 years ago, I started Charlotte County COPWATCH. I was the guy that was in the newspaper and all 3 channels where they illegally looked me up on the David system. Not to bring me followers, but to do bad things because I'm exposing the corruption here. So that's why I think I'm shocked. He shut it down. So we need cops. You know we need cops. I know we need cops. We're trying to show people that we're here. You can hold them accountable. You can do different things. You know what I mean? Is it all right if I give you my business card? All right. So in 3 years, by the grace of God, I'm a Christian. The YouTube channel went nuts. 40 million views. 38,000 subscribers. In fact, I'll even give you my regular card. So I'm sorry that he did this. We seriously are here. We need police, but we were just here to let you guys know that we're here. If you ever have, if you ever need any help, investigating anything, or if you need a story put out, because internal investigations won't do anything. We were the ones that helped break the dog mall story. We're also the ones that did in Collier County, 7 sheriffs beat the crap out of a white guy. He was in the hospital for 3 days. We broke that story. So we really are trying. Okay. We're trying to help. And sorry that it shut. We are shocked that he just killed it like this.
Okay.
So what was your name?
Reverend Brown. Reverend Howard.
Please get a hold of me, man. Do you guys got a card? I'm shocked. I really, really am. This guy right here, John Surcan, he helps the homeless over in Charlotte County. So he's going to let you guys know that he's here too. So he helps people there. In fact, you know what's crazy? He's the one that the guy that supposedly got away from the sheriff at the water and hung himself. That's his landlord. He knows the guy. This wouldn't have happened. Like the guy said, he knew the guy. He didn't hang himself. You know what I mean? 65. So, anyways, I'm sorry that it bombed out. All right. Oh, are we filming? Yeah, he was supposed to be. That's what I told him.
So why don't you want to leave it up? L.A. Daniels.
Do you not value our opinion?
All right.
Is Officer Cole ever going to face justice, Mr. Lewis?
Why, who are you with? Just a regular person? That's fine. I don't answer questions.
I'm a regular person. Hey, Andrew, I wanted you to meet David. This is Vic's friend.
Okay.
Andrew, who are you, a regular
Andy.
person?
No, I actually am. I'm
not a regular
person. Careful. Careful. Hey, let's not waste this. Let's do coffee. What's the closest thing to here for coffee? Here's my card. Because Surcan's here and everything. You didn't even get to meet him. He helps the homeless in Fort Charlotte.
Oh, okay. How you doing? Hi. How you doing?
Okay, where's the license plate for coffee?
See you later, man. It was a short meeting. Sorry, I didn't get more time.
I'm not sure. Let's go over here and we'll all talk.
All right, John, we're gonna discuss over here what we're gonna do, but be careful for those bike racks. You almost got it.